but they will start to grow a little bit, and then we have 4 weeks with no water, and they just disappear. So when you listen to a lot of these YouTube videos with farmers talking about row crops being important and clover is so great, most of those videos are from the US or Northern Europe, or they're not for tropical climates. And although we can grow clover in Colombia, it's not the right plant for my farm. This is a month-old picture of my banana tree that I showed you last year, and it's exactly the same height. That's pretty impressive. I think I'm the first person in the world not being able to grow banana in the tropics. This is one of my shade trees. Because it's dry season, it's losing its leaves a little bit. Here's another one that likes to be green all year. This is another one that's supposed to grow really fast, and it has been the same size also for over a year. So it's interesting that nothing will grow on my farm. Here's some of my coffee trees. So this is one of the plants that I planted in February. So they're growing up, slowly losing a leaf here and there, but for me these looks good. It's not too yellow, they don't have leaf rust. And this was before we kind of started mulching really well. Here's another one. Looks pretty good, pretty green. Would you agree, Gilberto?
Yeah.
It's okay?
Yeah.
What about this one? Not so much. Here's another one. This is actually one of the first trees that I planted that was disappeared, and then we can see the holes where they were planted. So I went out and kind of cleaned around them and mulched around them, and there was just a little sticks coming up of the soil, and that was last year. And now it's grown a lot in just 1 year. So stuff that we do actually help. These are one of my most beautiful trees, a typica. It had 1 cherry this year, but a bird or something took it. Disappeared. There's some, you do some. This will be another one of my nice typicas, and I don't have a lot of the nice ones. It's probably maybe 10 trees that look like this. And they're situated in a place of the farm where it has a lot of shade in the afternoon, so they don't get as much sun as the other ones. This is interesting though, because this is a caturra, and out of the 1,200 caturra trees we planted, I have 35 left. And most of them are standing in the corner of the farm where there's a lot of trees. So they actually have shade. You see there's a lot of leaves on the ground. They don't grow fast, but they're really green, and they look beautiful. So I'm expecting maybe a small harvest here in 2 years. Here's one of my old geisha trees that looks nice. Here's another one that doesn't look so nice. Here's the third one that looks kind of miserable. But I had a harvest. This is the 2018 crop. And fortunately I was there just before they fell to the ground, so I could actually pick them. But this is from one of the typica trees. And on some of the other ones I could see some flowers, so if you count the buds here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's 8 cherries probably in the future. And that will be 9 months from August, so next year's harvest. This is the most beautiful tree that I have, and it's one tree in my geisha plot. I planted it in 2015, and for some reason it just loves growing on my farm. And the ants don't like to eat it. Something is great about this tree. And this is a different angle. You see, I treat it like, every time I need to pee on the farm, I go and pee on that tree. Which results in a small harvest. So this is actually, it's growing 20 cherries as we speak, unless some birds are coming around. But those 20 cherries I will harvest probably in October, November. So, 20 cherries, that's 40 beans, and that's almost an espresso. Because you need 50 beans. But then again, I also had a lot of leaf rust on a couple of the typica trees, because the varieties that I planted are not resistant. That's kind of part of the project as well. I want to prove that you can grow healthy, old varieties without having to spray pesticides. And I came a little too late here, but we can make a compost tea, which is basically the same. You extract microorganisms into the water, but you will feed them give them some food in the water, and then they will start to grow. So you just aerate the water for 36 hours, and then you can spray it on the leaves, and they will stick to the leaves, and then kind of cover the leaves. So that means the leaf rust can't kind of spread. So we have seen some good results with this already, and you can see quite immediate, like a couple of, maybe a week after you've sprayed, you see that the leaf rust is dying, which is great. So let's try to sum up a little bit. Why is there no progress on my farm? Well, I've kind of told you already, but when I came there in January, I almost wanted to give up, because I came there was no trees left. 150 trees out of 9,000 is not a lot. But then once you kind of start working again and doing stuff, you kind of forget about that and you just want to progress. But of course the land itself was in really poor condition. It had been grazed, there was no real vegetation there, so the soil is very compacted, very dry, no organic material, no organisms. It's in terrible condition. There's no shade, so it doesn't really matter how much organisms I try to put on. There's no shade to kind of keep moisture in the soil and so on. So that's why we mulch now. I'm not a farmer. That's probably the biggest reason. I'm learning, but it takes more than an online class to become a farmer. That's for sure. We had 2 El Niños in the period, so I don't know if you know what that is, but that means we have basically no rain for a very long time in Colombia, and other parts will have a lot of rain. But in my area, I can literally stand and watch all the neighboring mountains getting lots of rain, and there's nothing on my farm. I need to learn, even still, I need to figure out how to make better composts. Like, it's a learning process. Every pile is different, and then you kind of take notes on temperatures and gather new ingredients and test, and it's a learning process. So it's becoming better, but it's still not to the values of organisms that I need. So I need to do some more work here. And also I figured out in the last year how to actually make the teas, because the problem is if you don't aerate them enough, they will become anaerobic, and that's not the right organisms for your plants. So I had to kind of reduce the amount that I made and double the amount of air pumps to use, and then I could just dilute the tea afterwards. But it took 2 years to figure that out. Yes. And the rest is self-explanatory. So what about the future? The future is bright. What do you think? Do you think I can do this, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for the confidence. These are Gilberto believes in me. That's good. These are actually some seeds that I got from El Salvadoran farmer. They were just replanted into plastic bags, so in a year we will actually put these out in the field, and what we're doing now is to plant them in bigger plastic bags instead of the small ones, so we can keep them for a longer time so they develop better root systems before we put them in the field. We have a variety garden. You see all the boxes with X's. That used to be a tree, that is no longer. So